Wedding, I caught him cheating with his secretary, Chloe. It's my birthday today. Can you spend the evening with me? It's my wedding with Grace today. Be reasonable. I scoffed from the doorway. So he still remembered what day it was. It was just that his early gift made me feel a little sick. An amicable separation was the greatest dignity I could afford him. When I decided to leave, he finally regretted it. Please, don't leave me. Before we continue, please subscribe to this channel and tell us in the comments where you're listening from. Linda was unusually excited on the other end of the phone line, eagerly confirming if I was really going to leave the country. I spoke a few more quiet words with her, confirming that I was indeed participating in an overseas event. She also reproached me for giving up my acting dream so easily, as she knew how much I loved performing. After a brief conversation, Linda suddenly remembered Marcus. Gracie, is Marcus going with you? I fought hard to hold back the tears in my eyes, softly answering, he's not coming. When we meet again, I'll tell you all the details. Hanging up the phone, I quickly booked a flight for a week later. Those 7 days would be enough for me to bid a heartfelt farewell to this city I had lived in for 25 years. At dusk, carrying my bag, I pretended to have just finished a day's work. The moment I pushed open the front door, a burst of brilliant confetti cannons exploded before my eyes. Marcus sprang out from the side, a wide smile on his face, greeting me with open arms. Welcome home, my sweetheart. Normally, I would have joyfully rushed into his embrace, but today, after witnessing his intimacy with Chloe firsthand, I couldn't. I suppressed the turmoil within me, allowing him to hug me tightly. He didn't notice anything amiss, happily pulling me towards the dining table. It was then that I noticed the table was laden with all sorts of favorite dishes, each one my usual preference. Looking at the feast before me, my heart ached faintly. Seeing me lost in thought, Marcus reached out and waved his hand in front of my face. Gracie, look, I even burned my hand getting this ready, but it's okay, it won't hurt if you blow on it. If it were before, even yesterday, I would have felt for him and blown on it, but at this moment, I had no desire to. He seemed to sense something was off with me, looking at me curiously. Gracie, why are you so strange today? I was about to find an excuse to brush him off when the doorbell rang. Marcus got up to open the door, and I secretly breathed a sigh of relief. It turned out my ordered cake had arrived. Marcus returned with the cake, a wide smile on his face, finding a reasonable explanation for my previous strangeness. Were you worried the cake wouldn't arrive? See, it just got here. I didn't want him to notice anything either, so I nodded in agreement. He busied himself for a long time, finally lighting the candles, then pulled me to my seat, pressing on my shoulders to make me sit down. Across the flickering candlelight, I silently made a wish. When I opened my eyes, he asked what I had wished for. I playfully winked. Guess? Marcus confidently said, it must be a wish for Grace and Marcus to be together forever. I smiled faintly, saying nothing. Actually, he usually guessed correctly. For so many years, even my birthday wishes were the same. I just didn't expect that while we were indeed always together, it wasn't with complete honesty. So, my wish this time was, for Grace and Marcus, never to meet again for the rest of our lives. Late at night, after I had showered and was lying in bed, Marcus suddenly moved closer. I instinctively wanted to pull away. He froze, asking in disbelief, Gracie, are you? Before he could finish, his phone rang. He glanced at me but didn't answer. I chuckled lightly, why aren't you answering the phone? He shook his head indifferently, casually dismissing the call, then and to hug me again. Seeing that I didn't refuse, he finally sighed in relief. Gracie, you just scared me to death. I thought. Thought what? Thought I found out you had an affair partner and was going to leave you? Before could finish, I laughed and cut him off. His face instantly paled, and his tone became slightly flustered. What? Gracie, what do you mean? Seeing his expression grow more serious, I pretended to joke, letting out a laugh. Just kidding, why are you so nervous? Marcus cupped my face with both hands, examining me carefully for a long time. Only after confirming that I was fine did he truly relax. Gracie, you're so naughty. How could you question my sincerity toward you? You'll have to make it up to me. Before he finished speaking, Marcus's lips drew closer, intending to kiss me. I looked at him, but in my mind, the image of him kissing Chloe flashed. Just as his lips were about to touch mine, I couldn't help but push him away, getting up and running to the trash can to retch. Marcus was terrified. He rushed to get me water, gently patting my back, his eyes overflowing with concern. Gracie, what's wrong? Why are you throwing up? Is it because the food I made today didn't suit your taste? As he spoke, something suddenly occurred to him, and his eyes instantly sparkled with surprise. Could it be? Are we having a baby? I was startled by his words. Just as I was about to say something, his phone rang again. A flicker of annoyance crossed Marcus's eyes as he dismissed the call again. Seeing me staring at him, he explained, "It's Chloe, my secretary. She just graduated and doesn't know anything. I have to teach her everything myself. It's late, so it's probably nothing important. Just ignore it." I looked at Marcus. Although he said that, the worry in his eyes was evident. I couldn't help but retch again. Seeing this, Marcus no longer cared about Chloe, his entire focus was on me. I wiped the corner of my eye, utterly confused. How could Marcus, who cared for me so much, be cheating? When his phone rang for the third time, I spoke first. "Answer it. Maybe it's something urgent." Seeing me say that, Marcus reluctantly answered the phone, his tone cold. "What is it?" "I'm about to go to bed with my wife." "Whatever it is, it can wait until tomorrow." I watched Marcus's expression grow increasingly frantic. Finally, the moment he couldn't help but look at me, I nodded understandingly. "Go." Receiving my affirmation, Marcus hung up the phone and looked at me, his eyes full of concern. "I'll be right back, Gracie, wait for me." I nodded, watching Marcus's retreating figure. Perhaps he didn't realize how hurried his steps were. The moment Marcus drove off, to avoid being discovered, I didn't drive myself but took a cab to follow him. After he parked his car in front of a bar, I watched him go inside before getting out and walking to a corner, keeping an eye on the bar entrance. Less than 2 minutes later, Marcus emerged, followed by a stumbling Chloe. Autumn evenings were still quite cold, yet Chloe was wearing a tight red mini dress with black stockings and high heels. I heard Marcus say to her in a very displeased tone, "What's your game? Who are you trying to seduce, coming to a bar dressed like that?" Chloe sobbed, reaching out a small hand to tug at Marcus's lapel. "Marcus, please don't say that. I'm upset." Marcus lit a cigarette and scoffed. "Upset about what? It's Gracie's and my wedding today. Are you deliberately trying to ruin it? If that's how it is, let's end this. You've overstepped your boundaries." Chloe didn't want him to say more. She stumbled, stood on her tiptoes, and pressed her red lips to Marcus's. I instinctively covered my mouth. Marcus first froze, letting Chloe's clumsy kiss continue. Amidst disorganized kisses, he finally couldn't resist. He wrapped his arms around Chloe, holding her jaw with one hand, then leaned in and kissed her passionately. I blinked, and tears silently streamed down. I raised a hand to wipe them away. Marcus and Chloe kissed under the lights, and I watched from the shadows. How ironic. Chloe suddenly sneezed. Marcus frowned, picked her up, and put her in the car. I watched his car slowly drive away, wiped my tears, and called an Uber to follow. Finally, Marcus's car stopped in front of a hotel. He went inside, half embracing Chloe. I watched their figures disappear from sight. What the two of them would do at the hotel was self-evident. I stood there quietly, thinking about all the little moments we had shared together. Just then, my phone chimed. I took it out and glanced at it. It was an "I love you" from Marcus. As if that wasn't enough, he sent it again. I didn't reply. I let out a sarcastic laugh. Saying he loved me while doing things to betray me, he was truly hypocritical. No wonder I had read an article online before that said men who betray a relationship will frantically tell their wives "I love you" out of guilt. At the time, I didn't understand, but now, everything became clear. I waited outside for 2 hours, but Marcus never came out. I gave a self-deprecating laugh. Marcus had told me to wait for him, but now, thinking about it, he wouldn't be coming home. Just as I was thinking this, my phone suddenly chimed with another message. I opened it and, sure enough, it was from Marcus. "Gracie, go to sleep first. I've run into some trouble here and had to go back to the office." I blinked. Look, he obviously went to a hotel, but he told me he was at the office. I suddenly remembered times like this before, when I would wait for him to come home eagerly, almost falling asleep, only for him to send a message saying he was working overtime at the office and telling me not to wait up. I foolishly thought he was truly busy, and I would even tell him to eat no matter how busy he was, because his stomach wasn't good. Was he also working with his dear secretary, Chloe, at a hotel back then? How long had he been lying to me? I didn't know, and I didn't want to know. Suddenly, a gust of wind blew past, and my tears vanished with it, just as my love for Marcus disappeared on that day. The next morning, I opened my eyes and, seeing the empty side of the bed, understood Marcus hadn't come home all night. I went downstairs to get something to eat and heard a noise outside. I walked over and opened the door, seeing Marcus with his back to me. He turned around when he heard the door open. It was then that I saw him holding a bouquet of baby's breath. He walked toward me with a smile and handed me the flowers. I wanted to smile but couldn't. He looked at me with a serious tone. Gracie, I was wrong for not staying with you last night. This is my apology. I bought them before dawn, they're very fresh. I looked into his eyes, seeing only sincerity and love. I fought hard not to burst out laughing, otherwise, I would have truly wanted to give him a best award. I really needed to learn from him when it came to acting. His natural performance made me feel truly inferior. In the end, I took the bouquet. For now, I couldn't let him discover anything. Seeing me take them, Marcus also brightened up. He came over to hug me, but I caught a scent of perfume that wasn't mine. Realizing it was Chloe's scent, I couldn't help but feel nauseous again. Marcus, seeing my discomfort, quickly handed me a glass of water. I forced down the nausea, looking at Marcus and feeling only absurdity in my heart. He looked like he was about to say something else, but I interrupted him. Good, you're back. Could you drop me off at the office? I have something to take care of. Marcus casually asked, what for? I came up with an excuse to deflect, and Marcus didn't suspect anything, since I used to do this often. As soon as I opened the car door, I saw the corner of a small box peeking out from under the passenger seat. I glanced at an oblivious Marcus, said nothing, and pretended not to notice. All the way there, Marcus chattered on, giving me instructions. These words of concern used to feel sweet, but now they only made me sick. I wondered if he had said such things to Chloe as well. Oh, by the way, Gracie, I'm going on a business trip tomorrow for 5 days. 5 days? That would be the exact day I left and he returned. I thought this was perfect, but on the surface, I still feigned the same worried expression as before. Sure enough, Marcus was satisfied seeing me like that. I looked at him and casually asked, with your secretary? Marcus immediately stopped smiling. He tightened his grip on the steering wheel and forced an unnatural smile. Yes, she's just graduated and doesn't know anything, so I have to guide her. I nodded, but in my heart, I thought, guide her? As in, take her straight to bed and teach her? Seeing me silent, Marcus asked why I suddenly asked about that. I deliberately gave him a strange look. Why are you so strange? I just asked casually. I used to ask whenever you went on business trips, didn't I? Marcus thought about it and confirmed it was true. He then sighed in relief, relaxing his veined hands. The next morning, I was woken by Marcus's rustling as he got dressed. He came over and nudged me awake. I opened my eyes and, seeing his pitiful expression, asked him what was wrong. I don't know why, I've been on long business trips before, but this time I just feel especially reluctant to leave you. I spent some time comforting Marcus, thinking, please don't suddenly decide not to go and mess up my plans. Seeing that I was acting normally, Marcus suppressed his unease, took his luggage, and left. During these days he was away, he reported his itinerary to me daily, sending me photos from time to time, including some selfies of him, in which he was wearing sunglasses and striking a cool pose. There was only him in the photos, but his sunglasses reflected a girl in a brown dress standing beside him. I pretended not to see her, replying to Marcus' with an indifferent tone. On the day of my departure, I first sent a message to my lawyer, then picked up my packed luggage, ready to leave. Just as I was about to leave, I heard a knock at the door. I opened it, and it was a package, for me. I found it strange because I hadn't bought anything. I tore open the package, and the moment I saw what was inside, I was startled. Inside were nothing but photos, intimate pictures of Marcus and Chloe in various poses. I suppressed my disgust and looked through them all, realizing that in some of the photos, Chloe was looking directly at the camera. I immediately guessed who had sent it. Chloe's methods certainly weren't sophisticated, but they were effective. I still felt sharp pangs in my heart. There was even a photo from my birthday a year ago. No wonder Marcus, despite knowing it was my birthday, hadn't rushed back that day. At the time, I just thought he was busy with work, and though I felt wronged, I understood. Now it seemed they had already been together back then. I let the tears fall again. This would also be the last time I cried because of Marcus. I threw the envelope away, and something fell out of it. I picked it up and froze the moment I saw what it was. It was a crystal keychain, with a design of two little figures snuggling together. It was one that Marcus and I had personally picked out when we were passionately in love. Marcus had treasured it for so many years. But now it was broken, a crack appearing between the two figures, as if it would snap with a slight bend, just like her and Marcus's relationship. I threw the photos onto the coffee table, took my luggage, and boarded the plane to the UK. Seeing another message from Marcus on my phone, I didn't reply. I blocked and deleted him in one go. On the plane, I took one last look at the city holding countless memories. Goodbye. I was going to live my own life now. Meanwhile, Marcus felt an inexplicable irritation. He had originally been scheduled for an earlier flight. Because insisted on clinging to him for one more time that morning, he missed his flight and had to wait for the next one. Finally on the plane, Marcus subconsciously glanced at his phone, noticing Gracie still hadn't replied. Just then, Chloe leaned in. She looked at Marcus, batting her big eyes and biting her lip. Marcus was already furious, so seeing this, he naturally kissed her without hesitation to vent his frustration. After the kiss, Chloe, out of breath, lay on Marcus's chest. She said in a high-pitched voice, "Marcus, don't be angry anymore. When we get back, you can punish Chloe however you like." Chloe's allure made Marcus feel restless, and he had no time to think about Grace. The two kissed openly, completely oblivious to the disapproving stares of other passengers. Chloe thought about the package. Grace must have received it by now. Marcus was hers, and no one could take him away. After getting off the plane, Marcus dropped Chloe off at her place and wanted to leave, but Chloe tugged at the hem of his shirt. Marcus was eager to go back to Grace and didn't want to stay any longer, but Chloe pulled his hand to her lower back, softly whispering to Marcus, "Marcus, aren't you going to punish Chloe? Chloe is willing to do anything." Marcus glared fiercely at Chloe, but he still didn't leave. He picked up Chloe and headed straight for the bedroom. Chloe wore a triumphant smile in his arms. By the time Marcus finished and cleaned up, several hours had passed, and it was already dark. Driving home, he felt a surge of panic looking at the message screen with no new notifications. While waiting at a red light, he couldn't resist making a call. None of them went through. He tried several phone calls in a row, all with the same result. Marcus quickly sent Grace another message. But when the delivery failure notification appeared, Marcus completely panicked. How could this be? How could Gracie have blocked him? All these years they had been toget. Grace had always been gentle and considerate, never arguing with him, never even having an argument, let alone blocking him. Even his friends said he was having his cake and eating it too, living a very comfortable life. His affairs had never been discovered by Grace before. The more he thought, the more terrified he became. The moment the light turned green, Marcus's car sped off. He had to get home quickly and see. Just one more turn and he'd be there. Marcus couldn't help but speed up. When his house finally came into view, the smile that had been about to form on Marcus's lips tightened. The usually brightly lit house was completely dark, not a single light on. This would never happen when Grace was home. Marcus's heart sank little by little. He quickly parked the car and opened the door. Standing at the entrance, he looked at the dark living room and called out, "Gracie." No response. He searched room by room, turning on lights, calling out Gracie as he went, but there was no reply. Just then, he heard a sound from the doorway. Marcus's heart leaped, and he rushed to the door. "Gracie, you're back." The moment he saw who was at the door, his hopes fell. It was a lawyer, not Grace. The man politely greeted Marcus and handed him the items he was holding. "Mr. Marcus, this is the agreement Ms. Grace entrusted me to deliver to you. It only needs your signature." Marcus reacted like a cat whose tail had been stepped on. Agreement? What agreement? He quickly opened the folder. Inside, 5 glaring words stood out: divorce. Marcus stood rooted to the spot, as if struck by lightning. Finally, Marcus, heartbroken, went to the sofa and sat down. It was then that his attention was drawn to the photos lying on the coffee table. He picked up the photos, flipping through them one by one, his heart growing increasingly uneasy with each one he saw. Chloe's body, which had once been so appealing to him, now seemed jarring. Marcus took a deep breath. He guessed that Gracie must have seen these photos before leaving. He could explain. He would say the photos were all fake, that the person in the pictures wasn't him, that he had been framed. Yes, that's it. With that thought, Marcus quickly stood up, ready to go find Grace. Just then, the folder that had been resting on his lap fell to the floor, and a handwritten note slipped out. Marcus recognized Grace's handwriting. He quickly picked it up and read it. Marcus, you truly disappoint me. You make me feel disgusted. Gracie isn't like this, don't despise me. All these years we've been together, I truly believed I had a clear conscience towards you. It turns out it was only one-sided. Gracie, no, I love you too, I only love you. Let's divorce. I don't want to see you again. Gracie, please don't divorce me, okay? After reading Grace's last few words, Marcus finally understood that Grace was determined to divorce him, but he truly couldn't bear to let her go. It was then that Marcus noticed the crystal keychain nearby. He picked it up. Hadn't he accidentally lost this keychain? He hadn't dared to tell Gracie, afraid she would get angry. How did it end up here? Marcus wasn't stupid. Connecting it with the photos he had just seen, he understood everything in an instant. So that's how it was. Marcus clutched his chest. His had left him because she discovered his affair. But why hadn't she confronted him? He could explain. Tears streamed from Marcus's eyes. He suddenly remembered when they had first started dating. Back then, they were both in college. Grace was recognized as the campus belle, with many suitors, yet she had fallen in love with him. He had asked Gracie why him? He still remembered that day Gracie was so gentle and beautiful, and she had said, because you are you. You only love me, and you only have eyes for me. After that, Gracie's tone became serious. I have zero tolerance for betrayal. If I ever found out you cheated, I wouldn't forgive you. He had been Art-led then and quickly pledged his loyalty. Later, after his first affair, his immediate reaction was to carefully conceal it from Gracie, ensuring she wouldn't find out. It turned out that he had personally lost Gracie. Marcus silently gazed at the keychain in his hand. Just then, his phone rang. He quickly picked it up to see. It was Chloe. He had thought it was Gracie. Marcus was a little disappointed, but then he thought of something and scoffed before answering the phone. Marcus, you forgot something. When are you coming to get it? Marcus remembered that on their wedding, when Chloe called him out, she had used a similar excuse. She said there were many lecherous people at the bar trying to touch her, and she needed him to help her. He couldn't resist going. Chloe always seduced him like this. It was all her fault, otherwise, how could Gracie have abandoned him? Thinking of this, he told Chloe to come directly to his house. Chloe was overjoyed and immediately hung up the phone to rush over. Chloe was ecstatic. Had that bitch Grace already received the package and caused a scene with Marcus? Soon, she would play the role of a sweet innocent girl, looking a little wronged, which would surely make Marcus feel sympathetic. After arrived, she stood outside, looking at the mansion, various emotions flashing in her eyes. Finally, she took a deep breath, a glint of determination in her eyes. This mansion would be hers too. Chloe, feigning shyness, knocked on the door. Marcus opened it and froze when he saw her outfit, then felt a surge of anger. That's just it, Chloe always dressed so provocatively to lure him, and he always fell for it. His previous women never behaved this way, they always listened obediently. How was it that with Chloe, he got caught? It seemed he had spoiled her too much and given her false hope. It was all his fault. Chloe paid no attention to Marcus's momentary daze. She brushed closer, took Marcus's hand, and charmingly peeked inside. Marcus. Where's Grace? Marcus sneered, yanked Chloe, who was still pretending, to the coffee table, and shoved her onto it. Chloe cried out in pain. This time it wasn't an act, she was truly hurt. With tears in her eyes, she looked at Marcus. Marcus, what are you doing? You hurt me. Marcus watched Chloe still trying to seduce him, scoffed, picked up the photos, and slapped her face with them. Still pretending? Look at this. Chloe covered her face, then picked up a photo, wincing in pain. Seeing that it was one she had sent, her heart filled with joy. It seemed Grace had already seen these photos. Her expression Marcus saw clearly, thinking, so it was her, after all. Chloe quickly said, Marcus, what do you mean by this? Did you give these photos to Gracie? Chloe dared not admit it. She blinked, feigning hurt. Marcus, are you doubting me? I've been with Marcus all these days, how could it be me? Marcus suddenly laughed, looking at Chloe's expression. Even now, Chloe wouldn't admit it, still putting on this act. How could he have been so blinded by her before? Chloe was about to say something more when Marcus slapped her. She was stunned by the blow. She looked at Marcus in disbelief. You hit me? Marcus sneered. What exactly happened? Why did Gracie leave? Tell me everything you did, clearly. Chloe, looking at Marcus, belatedly felt fear. She had no choice but to tell Marcus everything she had done, completely. After hearing everything, Marcus finally understood. Chloe had secretly harbored ambitions for a long time, and she had deliberately come to the house on their wedding. Chloe watched Marcus suddenly burst into laughter and immediately felt afraid, wanting to run, but wouldn't let her go. He grabbed Chloe by the throat, pressing her against the wall. It's all your fault. If it weren't for you, how would Gracie have found out? How would she have left me? Chloe was gasping for air. The more she struggled, the tighter Marcus squeezed. Out of the corner of her eye, she saw a vase. She used all her strength to smash the vase over Marcus's head. Marcus's head immediately started bleeding. He glared fiercely at Chloe before blacking out. Chloe wanted to leave, but she couldn't move. After calling an ambulance, she also lost consciousness. Marcus tried to strangle Chloe, and Chloe hit Marcus with the vase. Both ended up harming each other equally and were admitted to the hospital. This news reached me 2 months later. To be honest, I felt no ripple in my heart. I chuckled, looking at Linda, who was carefully observing me. Linda, what's with that expression? I'm not that fragile. Linda hesitated. Seeing this, I told her to just say it. Are you really not bothered anymore? I nodded. Seeing her about to continue, I quickly nudged her, laughing and teasing. Let's not talk about others, us girls. Dear, you should go rest, I still have a scene to shoot. Linda, nudged away by me, cast one last worried glance at me and left. I turned around, smiling, and then my smile faded. During this time, I had been immersed in acting, leaving early and returning late every day. It was tiring, but truly fulfilling. I seemed to have rediscovered my passion. Now, every day felt fulfilling. All I did was act, leaving no time to think about unrelated people or things. Life is about moving forward, and I had already decided that when I made up my mind to leave. I thought that past things and people should stay in the past, and I wouldn't see them again. Unexpectedly, after another major scene wrapped, when I returned to my house in the UK, I found someone at my doorstep. Although the light was dim, I knew Marcus too well. A mere silhouette was enough for me to recognize him. I stopped, looked at the day's weather, and it was just like that night when I watched him and Chloe go into the hotel. Marcus spotted me. He came forward in surprise, about to embrace me, but I quickly took a large step back. His eyes instantly filled with hurt. He P.L. E'd, Gracie. I quickly said, don't call me that. It's disgusting. Marcus staggered slightly. He looked deeply hurt. Does it have to be this way? Can't we talk properly? I found it amusing and retorted, what's there left to talk about between us? Should we discuss when your first affair was? Or how you kept lying to me, time and time again? Or perhaps how you brought your mistress to sleep in our house? Marcus looked at me in disbelief after hearing my words. Gracie. I'm sorry. I reiterated, call me Grace. You don't deserve to call me Gracie. Also, I don't accept your apology, nor will I forgive you. Marcus fell silent for a moment, then suddenly covered his face. Grace, I truly know I was wrong. Will you please give me another chance? I beg you. I interrupted him calmly. Marcus, you know my temper, don't you? You know what my bottom line is, right? Marcus's voice sounded incredibly pained. I know, I've always known. I just want to beg you, can we start over? Give me another chance. I suddenly laughed looking at him like that. I asked him, do you still remember what I told you when we got married? Marcus's eyes lit up as if he suddenly gained confidence seeing me laugh. Of course I remember. You said there would be no secrets between us, that we weren't allowed to hide anything from each other, that we couldn't cheat, that we couldn't stop loving each other. The more Marcus spoke, the softer his voice became. By the end, he seemed to lose his nerve, and his voice died out completely. I watched him in silence, then let out a sarcastic sneer. See? You remember everything I said, right? So which part did you uphold? Not a single one. With that, I turned to walk past Marcus to go home. But as I passed him, he suddenly grabbed my wrist. Yes, I did uphold something. Don't abandon me. I asked him, amused, which part? He suddenly looked directly into my eyes, utterly serious. Loving you. I've always loved you, that's never changed. I paused for a moment after hearing that, then couldn't help but burst out laughing. His words were truly too funny. After I had my fill of laughter, I wiped the tears from the corners of my eyes. Looking at a bewildered Marcus, I spoke again. You claim to love me, but not a single one of your actions shows it. Is your love just talk? Marcus tried to speak, but I didn't give him the chance. Get lost. Don't ever appear before me again. Just seeing you makes me sick. With that, I shook his hand off and walked away, never looking back. I don't know how long Marcus stayed outside my house afterward. I only know that when I left the next day, I saw a bouquet of baby's breath at my doorstep. Another month passed, and the film was finally completely shot. Because the results were excellent, post-production and promotion proceeded simultaneously, and its release was quickly scheduled. On the day of the premiere, at the press conference for us, the main cast, I appeared wearing a very cool trench coat. When it came to the QA session with the media, everything was normal until a reporter suddenly asked, "Ms. Grace, you previously chose to give up your acting career for your family, but now you're back to acting. Is it because your family has fallen apart?" I frowned upon hearing this. I exchanged a glance with Linda, who was in the audience, and Linda understood my meaning and found someone to handle it. I turned my gaze back to the reporter who asked the question, my smile unwavering. In the past, I chose family. Today, I choose my career. Different times bring different choices and different insights. I only live once, and I only wish that every decision I make will be free of regret. After I finished speaking, the venue erupted in applause, and I took a bow. Afterward, no further issues arose. After the press conference, I met up with Linda, who told me that the reporter had been paid by Chloe to ask that question. Sue? I understood. It must have been Chloe. But did you think this would break me? I believed her actions would have no effect other than wasting her money. After the film was officially released, it received rave reviews and an excellent reception. I also won several Best Awards thanks to this film. Standing on the awards stage, looking at the multitude of people watching me from below, with admiration and respect in their eyes, I felt an unprecedented sense of peace and freedom. I had rediscovered the meaning of life, and I had found my younger self again. Now I lived only for myself. Nothing from the past could stop me from moving towards a better life. One day, as I was looking through some scripts that had been handed to me, Linda suddenly walked in, her face serious. I casually asked what made her so serious, and she told me Marcus had died. My hand, mid-flip through the script, stopped. Linda told me Marcus had died of a stomach hemorrhage. I heard that after he returned home, he spent his days drowning himself in alcohol, neglecting his company and no longer seeking out women. The company shareholders felt this couldn't continue and forced him out. Now had no money left. Chloe, surprisingly, remained loyal to him, but he would hit her every time he saw her. Eventually, Chloe stopped coming to take care of him because of the abuse. He already had a stomach condition, which worsened due to long-term alcoholism and poor eating habits. When his stomach hurt, he'd take painkillers for relief, only to resume drinking once he felt better. This cycle continued until he was found dead in his mansion some time ago. The cause of death was a stomach hemorrhage. I nodded after hearing all this, then continued looking at the script in my hand. Seeing my reaction, Linda left. After left, I walked to the window and looked at the sky outside, suddenly remembering that the day Marcus and I first got together was also such a beautiful day. Back then, he had given me a bouquet of baby's breath, and I shyly lowered my head. Out of the flowers meaning, eternal and unchanging love, but had changed long ago. Finally, I did go back for a visit. Arriving at Marcus's grave, I placed the baby's breath I was holding in front of his tombstone, and left without saying a word. With that, my chapter with Marcus was truly closed, and my new life was just beginning.